my time. All right, so welcome to Beaver Politics. This is my first time doing this part of the show. Welcome to Beaver Politics, where we talk about Canadian politics and social justice issues. Tonight, we are going to be talking about, I had my little thing up here, I'll move it back here right away, but we're going to be talking about the GST pause versus the carbon tax, so the difference between the two and the hypocrisy with the other side and how they feel about it. And then we're also going to talk about tariffs and the annexation talk. So basically the discussion that Trudeau had down in Mar-a-Lago with 45. I can't say his name. All right. So a couple of little quick housekeeping notes. Tapping is clapping. If we can keep on tapping the screen, get us up to at least 20K for right now. Calcifer has set a goal for us of 60K, well, 200K. I'm saying 60K by the end of the show. So we have like an hour and a half to do that. So if we, or an hour, whatever we want to spend. But yeah, so if we can do tapping is clapping, we have the little heart me at the very top up there. We also do have a gift goal going right now too. If you want to support the channel, we do have subscriptions. Subscriptions are $5.49 and then you get a discount when you sign up for the first time for the monthly subscription, which you can cancel at any time. You only need to subscribe for 1 month in order to get into the Discord, where we're just trying to create some kind of a community where we can pass on information throughout the week and not just wait for Thursdays to talk about things. And we also have a YouTube channel as well. So make sure you go and sign up for the YouTube channel or subscribe for the YouTube channel. I post the videos that we do here every single week on Friday mornings right afterwards. So with that said, I'm just going to move the box back over and we can start talking about the first topic. Oh, one quick thing too. If we can avoid, so Zojin is my co-host tonight. But if we can avoid as much monologuing as possible with other people, because we tend to get like stuck in one thing, and we want to keep people interested and onto things. So if we can keep the conversation going rather than having like monologues from guests and stuff like that, then that would be really great. I have ADHD, so I lose interest after a little bit. So we want to make sure that people are staying interested and you know, we're keeping it snappy. Keep it snappy. So, all right. Zojin.
So, how do you want to deal with this? Should I just go over the what the carbon tax or the GST pause is?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the GST pause, what's included in it, and then we can talk about the hypocrisy of people. There's a lot of people who are criticizing the GST pause, but they want a carbon tax removal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you want one tax and not the other? I don't know. But then they also want neither of the taxes at the same time. So it's kind of like, do you understand how government runs and how...
It's kind of like they just want to be mad about something more than anything.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, yeah.
Okay, well, the Liberal GST pause... Well, first the NDP came out promising as part of their campaign platform a removal of GST permanently on a whole bunch of items. And then a week later, Justin Trudeau came forward with a temporary GST pause on children's toys, clothing, diapers, video games, restaurant meals, delivery meals, prepared foods at grocery stores that currently still have tax on them, like sandwiches and stuff at the deli, and snacks, junk food, beer, wine, and Christmas trees. It's going to cost like $1.6 billion in lost revenue. And then they came up with a plan to give $250 to working Canadians who make under $150,000 a year. And this is going to cost $4.67 billion. The NDP did not back that second one, so it didn't happen so far because they did not include people with disabilities or people on workers' compensation or pensions.
I was going to say retirees too, because that's my parents were both like, what about us?
Yeah, so that's why the NDP, they forced them to split that into two separate pieces of legislation because they said we won't back it unless you include these people. the big difference between the NDP promise and this Liberal one is the Liberal one is only for 2 months. It's temporary. It's going to cost almost $7 billion and has no way to pay for it. Whereas the NDP one was permanent, and it comes with a profit cap, or sorry, an excess profit cap and a windfall tax on large corporations in order to offset the cost and pay for it. And then the to make this more funny, that why the Conservatives are like voting against this, that they voted on, or their slogan is "axe the tax," right? And then they voted against doing this, which is really ironic because I have a document, I sent it to Nerdy here, from their 2021 campaign platform, in which they promised to remove GST on all retail items for a month. So they've campaigned on this exact thing that they're voting against before. That will actually remove more cost from people than axing the carbon tax would do. That's my blurb.
Do any of the guests have anything to add, or any questions, any concerns, anything like that you want to talk about with the GST pause?
Okay, so the GST pause, what does that look like for Canadians all around? Is my general question.
Like how much? What do you mean? How much will it save them? Kind of.
Well, how much it? How do I phrase this? I want to know how it's going to save Canadians and how it's going to work and how it's going to look.
I'd have to do some quick math to figure out per person, but if it's going to cost, or it's going to cost 1.6 billion in revenue, I guess that will basically be saving tax-paying Canadians 1.6 billion. Depends how much you buy more than anything. It'll save money for people with kids a lot more because kids' clothing, video games, Christmas presents all add up pretty fast, I would think. But overall, it's not permanent, so it's a very temporary form of relief.
How would the government make up, if the NDP were government, how would they make up a permanent lost revenue of the GST? And don't get me wrong, I'm not a GST fan.
Yeah.
But what was Mr. Singh's comment?
Their promise was a windfall tax on excess profits. So part of the problem with just removing a tax on something, which like you saw in Alberta with gas prices, if you just take the tax off, companies just raise the price and recoup that as profit now because we're used to paying that price. So adding an excess profit tax to large corporations, A, helps pay for that program, and B, incentivizes companies not to just go raise their price. Because if they do, they'll get dinged for that excess profit tax.
Okay.
I don't know if the Liberals had specific numbers as to what they would charge, like a percentage-wise, on those companies. They did say specifically that it would not apply to small businesses or medium businesses in Canada, just to large corporations.
I got to say, it was fun watching PP squirm at that first press conference when the news broke. He was. I remember thinking, whoever the Liberal was that came up with the idea, they take him for a pop somewhere.
Yeah. Axe the tax. No, not like this.
Yeah. God. Well, Zosian, what do you think? Was this the Liberal idea? Were you thinking it was a ploy, like the Conservatives are saying, or do you think that was?
It's politics, right? So my take, and I'll admit I'm biased because I'm further left of the Liberals. The NDP came out with this as a permanent solution, which any axing of taxes is popular usually, and I think the Liberals wanted to steal a little bit of that thunder, kind of co-opt that idea, but aren't willing to go after corporations to pay for it. So this was like a political move to steal some people's thunder, and it was a move to try to garner more votes for sure, which That's not like a bad thing. I'm not trying to like take Pierre's side saying this is a trick or anything. Every political group tries to do stuff when an election is looming to get votes. Like it's perfectly normal, but it's just a temporary thing to me.
So the way I taught it to kids over the years was, let's just look at running a country at $100. You only have $100. Now, if you tell, like Gordon Campbell did, I'm going to reduce your income tax. Well, then how are you paying for the programs that you currently have on the 100, right? Right. And then, now I'm echoing.
No,
Sorry.
it was Opal just came up and it was an echo in there, so I think she just fixed it.
And so what Campbell did is, of course, is he raised the medical premiums by 50%. So they had the same amount of damn money. They just took it from another pot. And that's what I want Canadians to be aware of, is that we only have a fixed amount of money that we have to work with. And the reality is we have programs to pay for. And they have to be some way. Anyway.
Oh, Opal, I'll just get you to wait for a second because you have an echo. You might have to drop down and come back.
That's why I like the NDP's plan, because even though I'm like a leftist and I like social programs for people, I'm a big believer in being responsible with your money. So their plan comes with a way to offset that cost and pay for it, which I approve of. The Liberal plan, even though it's temporary, it has no way to pay for that extra, what was it, like $6.7 billion altogether?
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of money for 2 months of tax-free Christmas presents mostly.
Okay. And I know that the Premier of New Brunswick wasn't pleased because they were having to. How did she explain it? They were going to have to make up the difference as a province, and they didn't like that. Did you hear anything about that? Does that make sense?
No. I didn't hear anything about that, no.
Okay.
I don't think the Liberals said where the money's going to come from for it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard.
I haven't heard.
I think, like, I do think that. Well, I think the NDP plan to remove it permanently, I think, is a better plan than the Conservatives scrapping the carbon tax, because it's on a whole bunch of stuff that carbon tax does not really apply to. Like, I did some quick math on home heating oil, because carbon tax is going up 16% here in January or something. I don't know, soon. But that's not, or sorry, 19%. But that doesn't mean they're adding a flat 19% to it. It means it's going up 19%. So it's going from like $80 a ton to $95 a ton or something. On home heating oil, on Atlantic Canada prices, because that's where they use home heating oil the most, carbon tax adds like 11 cents a liter, and it'll be going up to 13 cents a liter. Removing GST on that will save to 6 to 7 cents a liter, so it's offsetting half of the carbon tax right there. But it's also applying to cell phone bills, to food, to kids' clothing, to diaper, to groceries, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm talking the NDP's plan if it becomes permanent.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, you guys.
Okay, yeah, we don't have an echo from you this time. I'm just gonna, Opal, I'll just give you 1 second. We're gonna get Frontline to talk to first because she was up here, and then we'll go to you.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, can I just answer Frank here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think the NDP's against carbon tax, although they have said they would remove it if the Liberals did federally. At least that's what the BC did. The federal NDP has said they would remove it, mostly because it's just super unpopular. And they want to, like Jagmeet Singh said, they would introduce actual hard emission caps. So it's gonna, like, their new plan, which they haven't really put completely forward yet, said it would specifically target like corporate emitters instead of putting it on taxpayers as a carbon tax. Because carbon tax, while it does help, it shows like somewhere between a 7 and 13% reduction in how much we emit or something. It does not, like, it hasn't actually stopped corporations from increasing their emissions. It's just slowed it. So it does something, but it doesn't do enough. And they plan actual legislation to completely target corporations. We would
Yeah, we
lose
would
the
lose the
rebate,
rebate.
because we would lose the
Yeah.
tax.
And honestly, I like the rebate personally. I drive a Prius, so I don't pay as much when it comes to the gas station anyway. So getting that extra back, I like it.
I think,
But
like, I'm in
I won't
BC,
mind
so
it.
we're on our own. We probably, well, if it loses federally, I guess we might lose it here, but we're on a different thing, and I don't get a rebate anyway, but I still support the carbon tax because it's better than doing nothing.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we do actually get money added back onto our regular I mean, you make more money, but for somebody I
If you
think
make
that's
over
making under
55 grand, you don't get a rebate.
yeah, but if you make under, you are getting it back quarterly with all your
Yes.
GST checks and stuff. So you are getting
Yes.
some of it back for the people that really need it in BC, which is nice.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I mean, I just, I'm going to echo everything that you guys said. There's so many, there's so many pros and cons on all sides of this. But we do need some sort of carbon pricing, or at least, targeting the corporations, I think would be the best as well. I also lean a little bit more to the left there, so I think that it would be nice to go after the biggest emitters rather than citizens. But I still think it's worthwhile to have something versus nothing, right? And also, we need some sort of regulations with our carbon emissions in order to keep our global trade agreements. So that's something else we need to think about. Other than that, I want to pass it over to Opal because I'm done on this, and I will chirp in later.
Well, hi, you guys. Thank you so
Hello.
much for having me. Hope you're all doing well. Happy holidays and all that great stuff. I have a completely wild, different opinion. I'm not sure if this is maybe just geographical based on the type of media that we get in our area. I don't know. But I just wanted to throw it at you. I did do some calculations, and I do them for a living, so I've got some published articles. You guys can Google me. But what I was discovering is that within the structure of all the money that Trudeau has literally invested into bad investments, poor spending, mismanagement, inefficiencies, and all of the waste that's being created by the entire structure of that government, we're lacking so many services. For example, things like the privacy commissioner is not processing any complaints right now, which is detrimental to data breaches in Canada that have compromised our safety. So there's like not only bad investments and poor management and all these other facets to what's going on, there is the ability to take that money that's being wasted, the billions that we're just funding in other directions, and we could take that and actually do something as drastic as a 40% tax reduction in all aspects. But bringing up the wage isn't necessarily going to do anything for Canadians because it just changes the tax bracket. And to the one point that Frontline was making, actually, if you're on disabilities or you really need the money, like if you're on income support or low income under the threshold, you will not be receiving any sort of tax rebate. And the other thing that I find odd is in this part of Canada, I know there's 0% taxes on food. So I kind of feel it is a trick from the Liberals to say something like, oh, we're going to have a GST break for 2 months. Those things never had GST on them in the first place. We're not getting breaks on everything. It's not like some sort of big tax break. And the other thing is I just want to quickly touch on is tariffs. Some people misunderstand what a tariff is, and I just want to just quickly just align it. I'm not sure if you guys have the same view or not.
We're not at that topic yet.
Okay, but I was just going to quickly tell you what it is so we can think on it over this conversation. It's when United States people want to buy something from Canada, they have to pay an extra 25%, which deters them completely from ever wanting to do business with Canada. So it pulls the business away from Canada, and Canada suffers subsequently. But some people have a misconception that for some reason Canadians have to pay, but we don't pay to sell our stuff. When other people pay to buy it and they bring it into the United States, that's when they're going to get penalized. So just to make sure everyone understands that it's that direction that it works, it's the Americans that are. Yep. I know a couple of weird people asked me some comments in my own lives and things, so I was just saying it for anybody just to be clear. But okay, well, that was my little ramble, but I could probably ramble to you for days. But I'm certain that we could do other things like reducing expenditures and reducing costs in a lot of ways where we could move that money into ways that would benefit the people. And this is my last point. The morale of the people would change. The people would then feel so much better. It would be reflected in our behavior, and we'd be injecting more money into the economy by having more money in our pockets. So technically it's a really good thing. And they are pretty much creating fiat currency anyways. So because we never had trillions and trillions of dollars before in the world, but somebody equated that to be possible. But I'm just curious where the money's going and why isn't it going into the infrastructure if they're spending so much money and we're such like in debt so bad. How could this even be? Sorry, thank you.
You're good.
So, my question, you said, or she said there was not GST on all these items already. I'm a little confused there because there is GST on all of those items.
You can just do
They
a
just
basic.
removed it from.
No, you can just go online and you can just Google search it, and it's super simple to see this. If you just go on Canada website, you can go to what has GST, and it's actually 0% on food products from your grocery store. Most of them, anyways. The ones that
Yeah.
take
Grocery products, yes, not junk food, not pre-made items, not deli items.
It's all the stuff on the outside of the grocery store, not the stuff on the middle of the grocery store. The stuff in
Kids
the middle of the
clothing has
grocery store
GST
all
on it.
has
Video
GST.
games definitely have
But they're
tax
not
on it.
but they're not taking off that tax off. If you look in the list of what they're actually exempting, if you go to the comparison panel, it's very much similar to what we already have as a tax structure. It very much is a trick. It's very obvious, actually. They're
I mean, there is tax on restaurant meals that would be gone for 2 months. The NDP plan, it would be gone permanently.
restaurant meals. It says that.
Snacks and junk food at like a gas station have GST on them. They're not groceries. They're not considered groceries, so they do have GST on
Those
them.
things will not. It's not all food products. I want you to please go onto the Canadian website and compare the list of what's already got zero tax and what they're implementing. There's only a few slight changes, and I'm not joking. It's like that's just the way it is. There's very few products that are changing off that list. It's actually quite detailed. I hope we can look at this together because it's crazy. I thought it was weird.
So I'm looking on. I'm on the Canada.ca website right now with like where it shows the GST HST holiday tax break. So you have your restaurant meals, whether dine-in, takeout, delivery, prepared foods including sandwiches, salads, vegetables, or cheese platters and pre-made meals. Those all had GST on them to begin with.
So do you have the two lists pulled up? Like the two lists? Because like if you
I have the one list pulled up right now.
Are you in a?
I'm on Canada.
Okay, so I want to pause for a second because I just want to make it clear that because I'm feeling like we want to have like just a really good discussion on it. But I feel like the interrupting like it's really hard for me, especially being neurodivergent. I like to finish what I'm saying, please. I'd really appreciate that.
I just think I was getting a bit of echo and I might have been over speaking accidentally. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. No worries. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of finish going through the list of what I have on here and then I can look at the other list afterwards kind of thing. But I only have the one page pulled up right now. But snacks including chips, candy, baked goods, fruit-based snacks, and granola bars. Non-alcoholic drinks such as coffee, tea, carbonated drinks, juices, and smoothies. Beer and malt beverages, wine, cider, sake, spirit coolers such as pre-mixed alcoholic beverages that are 7% or less, and catered meals including catering fee for providing, preparing, and or serving the qualified food and beverages. So there's a couple things that aren't included on here, like the food from vending machines, alcoholic beverages more than 7%, dietary supplements, cannabis, and other items that do not qualify as food or beverages for human consumption, example, pet food, which kind of sucks. Lots of people have pets. But I can bring up the other one. Current GST.
Yeah, I don't know where you're finding the two lists up. Like I've checked 3 different sites on Canada.ca with lists of stuff, but there's not I don't see a direct comparison list.
So I'm seeing it in my search engine and I don't know why. So there's obviously some weird geographical different things coming up. So if I just type in 0% GST, general information on GST comes up. Exempt supplies, and I don't know. There's a bunch of ways to look this up. There's a huge tax on food. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, I was that was my fault. Okay, so I searched items that are currently excluded like currently exclude GST. And there's a couple different things on here. So the supply of basic groceries, which includes most supply of food and beverage marketed for human consumption, including sweetening agents, seasoning, and other ingredients to be mixed with or other in preparations of such food or beverages, is 0 rated. However, certain categories of foodstuffs, for example, carbonated beverages, candies, and confectionery and snack foods, are taxable. If a product's status is in doubt, the CRA will consider the manner in which the product is displayed, labeled, packaged, invoiced, and advertised to determine its tax status. So then they have what is this one? Consumable products considered basic groceries. Fresh, frozen, canned, and vacuum sealed fruits and vegetables, breakfast cereals, most milk products, meat, fresh meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and coffee beans. And then they have like a whole thing that has like the 0 rating stuff on here too. So like the stuff that is excluded from the 0 rating, which is the stuff that they added in, like the wines, cooking wines, spirits, beer, malt liquor, juices.
Spirits are still having GST. It's only alcoholic beverages with less than 7% alcohol by volume.
Yeah, no, I'm reading the list that's in here that has like is excluded right now. Yeah, you're good.
Gotcha.
You're good. Yeah. Carbonated beverages, non-carbonated beverages, so like fruit juices beverages, fruit flavored beverages, those ones are not they have GST on them right now.
So what I'm trying to get at, just as an overall point here, is that there's such tiny differences like between what's already allowed and what isn't, that does seem very trickish in my opinion. It's tricky.
Yeah,
it's just odd.
I mean, I could see that. It is certain. I think it's just expanding upon the stuff that already is. So the stuff that you would think is already included is now being included, right? So like yogurt would count as non-taxable, but drinkable yogurts were not counted, and now they are being counted for this 2 months.
Yeah, and my point is I just think it's such a small difference that it's like literally pennies. And then like I don't qualify for the $250, but I have a disability, so it's really redundant because I have to pay the most for living anyways. So like it's very expensive, and I have a lot of expenses related to my disability. So in exchange, I don't get that rebate, and nor does anyone that's elderly or like people that really need it with low incomes. So
that rebate thing didn't pass. The NDP didn't back it. So it got put onto a separate piece of legislation. So it's separate from this current GST pause.
Oh, okay.
Because the NDP said if you're not giving this to people with disabilities, workers' compensation claims, or pensions, we're not backing it.
Yeah, so it seems to me like a lot of trickery right around the time where there's a whole bunch of bad things going on, scandals, money missing, lots of expenditures, $400 million plus, like a lot of money moving that we're not seeing the accountability for, and it's impossible for us to mathematically calculate because we don't know all the details. And I find that a little bit shady. I just don't know if I trust any politicians right now, but I just think it's really a lobbyist-funded movement here, and I'm not sure how to understand it.
I think Smubs has it in the comments. Trick is a bit of a stretch. It's kind of a nothing burger, but it's still beneficial. Like, if you look at the Canada.ca thing, it says a family spending $2,000 on qualifying goods such as children's clothing, toys, shoes, diapers, etc. would save about $100 over 2 months.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I spend for groceries maybe $200 a month. That's what I can afford. I make $1,800. I have a son, and I make $1,800 for my disability, and I get like a tiny bit of tax, like maybe $200. I get no other money, so I get approximately $2,000 a month to live off to pay my car payment, rent, food, utilities. There's no way I'm spending the $2,000 and getting $100 rebate. Like, I don't know how many people do that.
That is what many Canadians spend just on groceries in 2 months. Like, groceries is people's second biggest expense. So
yeah.
Like, the point is, yes, saving $100 for people is good. It's not like, holy shit, this is going to change everything.
Well, I'm going to say,
like the guy in the comments said, it is beneficial. It's not a huge thing, but there's no reason to be upset about people saving a little bit of money, even if it's only a little bit. Like, it's still better than nothing.
But what about the trickery with the whole scandal of not releasing the documents? And maybe
What scandal are you talking about, by the way?
Now you're on a whole different subject.
The thing is I don't want to, guys, like, because this isn't a debate platform, right? We're just here for discussion, and I really want to stick to the topics that we have on here. So if we can just stick to the GST pause, and then we'll talk about the carbon tax and go from there. Because we do have a couple of other people who still want to, like, Real Native wanted to talk on this as well too. And yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. No, we don't want to pivot to other topics.
Hey, Nerdy.
Hi. Hi, friend.
Belgian, how's it going? Cousin
Hey,
Schmercy.
man, how's it going? Nice to see you.
Fine. How's everybody doing?
I'm okay.
Good. You're a little hard to hear, though.
I'm good.
Oh, sorry. How's that?
Better.
Yeah. So, my take on the whole carbon tax thing is, I'm all for it. I prefer taxing the corporations, the old corporations who are taking our resources. By the way, if you look up, around 90% of the oil companies up north are not from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So that is companies that are coming into our country. People scream about immigration, but they refuse to look at the oil field taking our resources. And if we got rid of the carbon tax, that's just more money in their pocket that is not going to Canadians, you know. I'm all for taxing the corporations up north. I love it because they take our oil, they sell it to the States. The States refines it, sells it back to us. That is dumb. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So the tariff there is going to flow both ways. The U.S. is not going to want our oil because it's going to have tariffs on it. Canada is not going to want to buy our oil back because, we're going to have to put tariffs on it. We're going to have to pay the tariff on it. The GST pause, I feel, is beneficial. However little we get out of it, for some people, measuring pennies matter. I know I've been there when I was a young father, and I had to measure pennies, every single day. So I know that a GST pause is going to be beneficial somewhere along the line.
For sure.
Annexation is the dumbest thing I've ever heard because whenever I hear this stuff, like Danielle Smith here in Alberta talking about, let's make Alberta the 51st state. She'd love it if we were able to fly to the States without a passport because, there was some way they were part of the United States is just dumb. She signed the Sovereignty Act without consulting the First Nations. Everybody forgets when they talk about annexation, present company excluded, that annexation does not take into account the treaties that are signed with the Crown, a completely separate country, I mean. So annexation does not, nobody talks about that part of it. And that's a little insulting to the First Nations people. But yeah, that's just my rant.
I think the whole Trump annexation comment was supposed to be insulting. It was just like a passive aggressive joke that he did. Like, I don't think he was serious. I sure managed to make a lot of people mad. That's for sure.
We're talking about a guy that does not think on a full, he doesn't fly on a full rocket of fuel. His elevator doesn't go all the way to the top, So, I mean, I take anything dumb he says seriously because that's just how.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think that comment was a trial balloon. and that whole thing with the flag over the Matterhorn trial balloon. This is a man who is looking to see what he can get away with. I think he's smarter than we give him credit for in an evil Dr. Evil kind of way. I know that we're not at annexation yet, but I just wanted to agree with the real. Sorry, what's your name, sir?
The real native.
The real native. Thank you. I'm T-Jack. Nice to meet you, real native.
Can I add in one little thing about the GST pause?
Yeah, and then I'm going to do a quick moderator thing after that. Yeah.
Okay. I actually wanted to add this in here when we had the other lady in here. I do understand people's frustrations with it, but I just wanted to talk on a basic like nutritional perspective here. I've worked as a nutritionist. I work with people a lot in terms of their eating habits. And I can tell you right now, with how busy people are, a lot of them are buying those packaged foods that have the GST on it. A lot of people don't have the time to cook. When you're buying the grocery items that are around the store, that means that you probably need to spend at least half an hour actually cooking and prepping vegetables. And a lot of people don't even have the time and the mental capacity to do that these days. So there's a lot of people that are going to grocery stores and buying prepackaged foods, buying all kinds of stuff that they can just grab, eat at home for dinner, and that's it. So a lot of those people are going to save a nice chunk of money there. Anyway, that's all I have to add.
Quick too on that there's food deserts exist where people, especially in like inner cities and stuff, don't have access to good healthy groceries that are more likely to be tax exempt. So a GST pause on stuff that's like sold at gas stations, even though it's unhealthy food, will actually help
100%.
some people a lot
100%.
more. Like people who need it, who don't have that access, and which are usually on like a lower economic scale. So it is really good for that. Like I think the NDP permanent pause with making corporations subsidize it is a great idea, personally.
Yeah, I'm all for that too.
That sounds a lot. That sounds pretty good. Anytime we tax those corporations, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, just a quick little mod thing. We hit 20K likes, yay! If we can continue the tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. Get the invites out to a few more people if we can. Get some more people in here. I see we have some lovely PP supporters down in the comments, so that's fantastic. I don't care. Keep on commenting. It just boosts the live. So yeah. Tapping is clapping. We hit our gift goal. Thank you. I will fix that. I didn't realize that. Actually, I heard it, but it didn't register. So, but yeah, if we could just keep on tapping is clapping, tapping the screen, it helps get us boosted out onto the FYP potentially. And yeah, that's all I have. MS Lotus, you're next.
Hey everyone. So I just wanted to add on to the grocery thing. Because all my family is neurodiverse, and I myself currently am struggling with things like brain fog and fatigue from arthritis and autoimmune diseases. And I just started some new medication that's, makes me tired and unmotivated and stuff like that. And so we rely on pre-prepared foods, and a lot of people with ADHD or who are neurodiverse do. And we actually are the ones who end up paying the most. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the hidden costs of disability, especially in groceries, because for me, sometimes I can't chop food because my hands are too swollen. My hands hurt too much, so I can't chop an onion, but I get hit with GST because it's technically a prepared food at the grocery store. So it's not like people are buying chips and cheesies and scarfing those down. People are buying pre-made food like pre-chopped onions, pre-made salads, pre-made meals like I did tonight, right? Like I'm exhausted. So it's like, buy a bagged salad, right? On my way, but that is considered a prepaid food. And, one of the things that drives me nuts in this country right now is this rugged individualism where I've got mine, screw everybody else. Or if it doesn't apply to me, screw everyone else. When we were coming up with our small kids, We were a young family. We never qualified. We were low income, but we weren't low enough to qualify for very much at all. We were just above the cutoff for all of the rebates and everything. And not once did I think to myself, that person over there that's getting that rebate doesn't deserve it because I can't have it. I never benefited from $10 a day daycare. We actually lost serious revenue for a whole decade because I had to stay home with the kids. But I never once think to myself, I'm really mad my tax dollars are going to help that family with $10 a day daycare. I'm not mad people aren't going to have to pay GST on their diapers for 2 months. I think it's better than a kick in the teeth, right? Like, and I really,
Exactly.
it's not very Canadian. Like, it's not the Canada I grew up in. We're
Absolutely.
happy for people are taken care of. Like, that's the thing about Canada that's really missing is this pride that we used to have in taking care of our people. And it's missing,
Agreed.
and it's really, and it really bothers me a lot that people have pivoted away from looking after their neighbors and being happy that their neighbors are being taken care of to I've got mine, screw you. Right? That's all I wanted to say.
Well said. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't
Oh my
understand
God.
like that lack of empathy because
Right?
I don't benefit from like almost any of these programs. I don't want to get into my finances or anything. I'm
No.
very lucky compared to most Canadians in my situation. I still want these things for other people who need them because they're people.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Smarshy.
Hey, like, my thing is, if it's not going to affect you, why are you so angry at it?
Yeah.
Why
Jealousy.
why are you downplaying someone's disability or ethnicity or race? It shouldn't be about that. As Canadians, and I've had this talk with my dad, and my dad shakes his head at me all the time. I am not in a position to help people because I am disabled. I get a monthly benefit, and that's it. But I will still go above and beyond and help people I know who struggle just like me because that's how I was taught. That's the Canada I want to become again. I don't want to become like, oh, mass deportation. Oh, this isn't me, so that's that. I land my plane.
I just want
I
to
wanted
address.
to
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to address something that our lovely conservative person in the comments was saying about where the money from the carbon tax goes. So I found this lovely article, by the way, and Zojin, I sent it to you about the carbon tax. It's 10 myths about carbon tax, okay, or carbon pricing in Canada. And so one of the things it says, like that he said down in the comments, was that it's going like to asylum seekers and going overseas, like all that money, okay? So I'm just going to tell you right now, myth, carbon tax or carbon pricing is a cash grab. The fact, the federal government is returning all the carbon pricing revenues to the provinces. So the federal government is returning 90% of the money to households. They receive the revenues as a credit when they file their income taxes, which is true because I finally filed my income tax and I got my carbon tax. So the remaining 10% will fund efficiency project for small businesses, schools, and hospitals in each province. And all revenue stays in the province in which it is generated. So we don't, in Alberta, none of our carbon tax goes to like New Brunswick or Nova Scotia or PEI or anywhere else, or even BC, you know, like our carbon tax stays in ours. So it goes towards our businesses, schools, and hospitals. So it's really interesting how like a quick Google search could actually, like, I literally put, where does the carbon tax information.
But the problem
That's
is they don't trust that information, right? Like
Yeah.
I've had that conversation too, where I've said, look, I've posted the letter from the open letter from the 200 economists in the country. And they're, and the answer and the rebuttal is, well, that's from the woke university. And it's like, it's 200 economists. They study this their entire lives. Like, don't you think that they know a little bit more than your 5-minute Google search? Like, but in BC, it's a little different. And I can understand why people would be a little upset with the way the BC one is structured, because it was structured by conservatives, right, Sojin? Like the BC Liberals structured our carbon tax. And so it's means tested, which means not everybody gets it back, right? So if your family makes over $55,000 a year, you don't get a rebate in BC. And that's, people are pretty PO'd about that, because we've had ours longer than the federal one. And when the federal one came around, everybody else gets rebates except those making over $55,000 a year in BC. And for the record, especially if you're in the Lower Mainland, $55,000 for a family of 4 in British Columbia is nothing. Nothing. I pay $48,000 a year in rent alone.
Yeah.
Right? So
like you were saying though, it helps the people who need it still. So why be mad? Like I made $56,000.
Yeah.
So I just barely was not under that cutoff. I don't care, whatever.
No.
Like, it helps people. I'm fine. I'll be okay.
Yeah. Yes, Marshy.
I want to address a comment. This person said, Liberals and NDPs don't care about real Canadians. What is real Canadians mean? Because I'm pretty sure all of us are Canadians. There is no real Canadian. It's just Canadian. That's it. There's no real, there's no fake.
It's the rhetoric that they get from down in the States. This is the thing, right? Like, we get so much of American politics up here, and don't get me wrong, I freaking love American politics, okay? But we get so much of that there that they think that everything that's going on down in the States is happening up here too. So they think because 45 says that there's an issue at the border and there's so many I'm saying the right word, undocumented immigrants coming in, that there's an issue with that here too. When it's really funny because the majority of the people who are undocumented down in the States are Canadians and Europeans and Asians.
Right.
So they overstay their visas.
Here's another thing, going on what Nerdy said. You're talking about 45 and all his rhetoric and stuff like that. Immigration, when you take your Canadian citizenship test, the day you pass that test, you are a Canadian. That is why they make you take a citizenship test, so you become a Canadian citizen. It doesn't matter if you're asylum seeker, refugee, or coming here for immigration. Once you take that test and you pass, you are now told by the Canadian government, welcome to Canada. Thank you for being a Canadian citizen. They don't call it a Canadian citizenship test if you're not going to be a Canadian.
Well,
That's what I don't understand.
You know what's really interesting about the immigration rhetoric is that when you go and you look into the stats, immigrants actually outwork Canadians born on Canadian soil. They outwork us.
Crime.
Yeah, and they commit less crimes, and they add more to the economy than average Canadians do, because they work hard. They invest in the economy, like they invest in their businesses, and they also spend money in the economy, and they generate income, and they hire people, and it makes them more productive than average Canadians.
And
they are 100% a net benefit.
What's that, T-Jack?
And the refugees that come into Canada, that Canada invests in over a 1 to 2 year period, studies show, and the economics is clear, we make money back from them in spades with their contributions to the Canadian economy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I add something?
I think Real Native's trying to talk, but people keep cutting him off.
Real Native, and then Frontline Feminist, and then we're gonna get to Frances because she hasn't spoken yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know if I was from a third world country or a war-torn country, I would not be trying to break the rules here if I was
Absolutely.
like that. You know, if that I was going to get sent back.
Exactly.
Just my thought.
Bang on.
1 second before the next person talks. Peter, prove that. You said 500,000 illegal immigrants in Canada. Prove it. Provide a source. Provide us a source.
And Peter, I took away your right to speak for 30 seconds. You can improve your language. You can use proper terms in here. Undocumented immigrants. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. So, frontline.
I just wanted to echo what the Real Native said and just ask everybody, like, where's your common sense? You know, coming from a family of immigrants myself, like, you know what I mean? When we come here with nothing. All we want to do is not get in trouble, work, make money, and secure a life for ourselves. Immigrants aren't coming here and, you know, causing all these crimes that people talk about. You know, the conservatives, the right, the Republicans in the States, they like to use a couple of bad incidents to portray this really dark narrative of immigrants. And like, where's your common sense? What land are you on? We're all freaking immigrants here for the most part. So that's what I don't understand. Like, where's the common sense in people?
There were 26,000 women assaulted after that woman was assaulted by an illegal immigrant in the United States in the state of Georgia. 26,000 by native-born Americans.
I just want to add on that, anyone with the anti-immigrant rhetoric, you should really try to go live in a different country, because it's really freaking hard, man. When I was younger, my girlfriend and I tried to move to Mexico and like live as Mexicans on a very cheap budget, not in a tourist zone, way back in the barrio. It is not easy. It is very isolating. It is very difficult. Man, I got nothing but respect for people that immigrate somewhere. Like, it is a tough go.
Yeah.
That's all.
Women Against Polyev.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi, I'm finally testing negative for COVID, so I feel a lot better. But anyhow,
Oh, yay! That's exciting.
yeah. Oh my God, 5 years.
Lucky deal, I've
COVID
been
now.
there.
Anyhow, oh, terrible. Anyhow, just a couple of things on the GST pause, just to echo what people are saying. You know, it's really easy to judge what people eat, how they live, how they spend their money. This will make a difference for people. I'm like Zojan. I'm very fortunate. I mean, I came from immigrant parents. I have made a very good living in this country. I live really well. I don't get any of these benefits that you know this particular government offers, and I'm very grateful for that. And I don't begrudge anybody a cent of help, because when you put that investment into people, it comes back in spades, especially children. I worked in the welfare system for many years. I don't know how many people these conservatives, how many of you ever have looked at somebody who can't feed their child or who doesn't have enough to eat themselves. You will not begrudge them help for that. And I think there are issues with the, you know, I'm a liberal. I'm not an NDPer, but I do support what the NDP want to do with the GST. So we'll see how this plays out politically for the Liberals, but it will help people. I think that with the immigration issue, again, I am a child of immigrants who came here with nothing and who did well for themselves because of the opportunities that they were able to take advantage of and work hard, just like immigrants do now. And I had interestingly a meeting with my financial advisor this week, because yes, I'm fortunate enough to have one of those. And he said to me, one of the only opportunities for growth in this country, in Canada, is immigration. And now the government's cutting back, and that's going to hurt us on a lot of different levels. So I thought that was interesting commentary from someone who's much more financially savvy than I am. And then the last thing I wanted to say, because I can go on, is around this right-wing rhetoric that we see. It's unoriginal. It comes out of the States. It takes, usually when you start to see something coming out of the Republicans, well, it was about a 6-month lag here. Now it's about 3 weeks. There's nothing original in those comments. There's nothing based on fact or detail or humanity. It's lurching from predictable topic to predictable topic around carbon tax, around these unredacted documents against quote unquote real Canadians, whatever the fuck that is. People just parrot those talking points. They don't know what they're talking about. And I like to think that most Canadians actually don't feel that way. And what I'm trying to do when I talk to people and with my own account, and I'd be curious what the rest of you creators think, is to see if there's any opportunity in this limited realm to appeal to people who are on the middle of the road, people who do care about this country and about their fellow Canadians, and who don't understand the threat that the Conservatives pose to that, as well as to people who are apathetic and who don't vote and who may be motivated to vote based on, even like today I posted, Peter Julian posted a video that the Conservatives again all voted against an abortion motion in the House today, and I'm getting and people are furious with that because they don't know. So that's sort of, for me, my motive here is to not change the mind of a Conservative, because they seem to be really baked into this rhetoric, but to appeal to people middle of the road or people who are normally apathetic. And I guess I'm curious what you guys think. It might be a bit off topic, and if it is nerdy, just cut me off. But
Yeah, no, it's fine.
what you all think and who you hope to reach with what you're doing here, because we are all on the same page.
Yeah. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I think it ends up being a recurring topic that we're talking about anyway, right? A lot of people try and they talk about how they can reach the people on the right, but the thing is like most of the people on the right are solidified in what they think, and they are not budging, right? So even last week we were talking about like it's the independents and the apathetic. Those are the two groups that we need to learn, like that we need to reach out to, because the independents, they probably like some of them are probably like uninformed or low information or something like that. And then you have the apathetic people who are like, my vote doesn't matter. It's not going to, because we have terrible, terrible voting history here, right? So if we can reach out to those people and explain to them how important it is to vote, and then also the independent people, those are the people we can actually educate and have a conversation with. I don't think that we need to go down to the level of the right wing, the conservative, the maple magas. We don't have to go down to that level to speak to these people. We can stay at the same level that we're at and still educate them the way that we need to educate them.
I think Smoshi wanted to say something before.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's the whole fact of, yes, there is an immigration in our country. People need to get over that. But what they're looking at is not all the people that come here to immigrate. They're not looking at the European countries. No, they're looking at the Muslim community. They're looking at the Syrian community. They're looking at everybody else, but forgetting that a long time ago, their ancestors were immigrants, and some of the white people and some of the Canadians who are European descendants only focus on skin color, and that is gross. We cannot be competing or sitting here saying, oh, well, it's immigration problem, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not an immigration problem. It's a problem with color because, again, this country some people in this country believe that we should make Canada white again, and it's fucking gross. I've heard that time and time again, and I'm so sick of it. Look at every person who comes here and immigrates to Canada. We can't just look at one demographic, because that's what's hurting us, and that's what Polyev and all the UCPs are focused on. The immigrants that are of different colors. That's what it is.
100%.
I just want to do a shameless self-plug here. I just did a video yesterday, I think, and it's up on my YouTube too, about this subject. I found an article written by a Hungarian leftist politician who witnessed the rise of Orban taking over Hungary, and how this authoritarianism took hold, and the like social manipulations and language that they used in order to make this possible, and then how people can fight against it. If you want to go check out that video or my account, you can go read the whole article. I show it in the screenshot, and it's super informative. How they're like co-opting the class struggle that used to be like kind of rich people versus poor people and stuff, and they've made it into like hard workers versus lazy people instead. So billionaires now get like the working class support, which is just bonkers, and go after like people who are disabled or on welfare or something as being these lazy, horrible people. And you see like lots of that rhetoric happening in Canada now. And none of this is new. It's not even new from the States. Like Hungary did it way before. Romania is doing it. It's happening in France. Like it's all the same playbook. So Super informative if you can go find that article.
Real quick about Romania, because that's where I'm from.
You know, I keep saying this, and sorry, nerdy. I'm sorry, you're muted.
You're muted, nerdy. You're muted.
Oh, I said I think Frontline was going to say something on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then I have something.
I can let the real native finish up, and then I can go
Okay.
after.
okay.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say a really quick thing. You've heard me say it. Sojan's heard me say it. Smarcy, Frontline, you've all heard me say it. This country built on immigration?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the thing that people forget is that unless you are of indigenous descent, your whole family came here from somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, when the
Right.
war in Ukraine started, I did my ancestry thing and I actually traced it back like 7 generations. So I know exactly where I came from in Eastern and Western Europe, right? So we didn't
Right.
come from here. We may be born here, but we didn't come from here. We
Can I
all
go after
immigrated.
Frontline?
And
Yeah,
And this is,
Canadian
again,
Resistance still has to go too afterwards. Yeah. Frontline.
All right.
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure everybody was done. Yeah, I don't know if you saw what I messaged you earlier, Zojin, but Kalin, I don't know how to say it with a English accent. Kalin Georgescu, which is the far right opposition, I guess, in Romania right now. The pro-Putin puppet, I'm going to call him what he is. He's totally leading in the polls right now. He's absolutely leaning in the polls. The election is going to be this Sunday, and it looks more and more like he's most likely going to win. So, yeah, me and my parents have been crying about it pretty much every day this week, and it's just shocking because at the end of the day, this is the rhetoric, and this guy got really popular through TikTok because there was millions of dollars in cryptocurrency that paid for his TikTok campaign. And it was 1 month of nonstop nationalist kind of, same playbook. It's the exact same playbook, right? And half the country woke up the day that he came to power and they just went, who the hell is this guy? Half the country didn't even know him because people that didn't have social media had no clue who he was. And now he's about to become our president. And I'm shocked. If he pulls us out of NATO, we're in really big trouble. And that's what he's running on. He's running on that the EU and NATO is evil and that we should pull out. And he actually got some Romanians to back him on this. And it's crazy. And all the Romanians that remember our history are going, what the hell's going on? There's riots, there's protests. It's an absolute mess down there right now.
so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay. And I was just going to add one more thing when we were talking about like the psychology of what happened. If you guys are interested, there is a podcast called the Lessons from the 2024 Election Disaster. And it's a bunch of psychologists and philosophers that are really talking about what happened and what we can kind of do moving forward. It's still, very unsure. Most psychologists are still wrapping their own brains around what happened and how we're going to move forward, but it's a good starting point for us to listen to.
Can I, me? Okay. Actually, I wanted to address what Fran said. Hey, Fran, how are you? Glad to hear you're feeling better.
Thank you.
So the way I approach the TikTok account, I have cultivated over the last 2 years, and I've got 2 actually. I still have BC Sherry, although I'm never over there. Is that I used to think that I needed to convince the person I was talking to of something, but what I realized is that I take every one of those as a learning opportunity for somebody else. And so people will say to me, like, why are you bothering to address these people? Why are you, like, even the other day, somebody came into my comment section when I was talking about how our military answers to the King of England. And if the US did want to invade, Great Britain is going to be front and center. The UK is going to be front and center and all of their allies because our military pledges its allegiance to the king, right? And the king is technically our head of state, like technically, right? And I had somebody come into why are you wasting your time with this garbage? And it's because I'm not trying to convince anyone in particular. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the right information is out there. I can't make somebody take in the right information, but what I can do is I can make sure that I take each piece of disinformation or misinformation that crosses my path and use it as a teachable moment for somebody else out there. And
Exactly.
I have had some really great conversations with people about that. And they say to me, like, I really rely on you. And so I approach my page with a lot of as I know you do, Fran, and everybody on here does. We approach our pages with a lot of reverence, almost like we're honored to do this work. Like we do this work because we do it because it's our social responsibility and it's part of the social contract we have with our fellow citizens in the country. And so I do it because I feel like it's my duty to Canada, right? To make sure that that the right information is getting out there. So I don't really worry about how I'm going to convince other people. I just do the things that I know will stem the tide. Get involved, combat mis and disinformation when you see it. Don't waste your time arguing with people who are never going to see your point of view anyways. Like the lives where everybody just screams at each other continually and it's the same subjects over and over and over again.
It's pointless.
It's pointless. It really is pointless because it just becomes like this constant regurgitation and nobody is getting enlightened. Nobody is learning anything. Everybody is just battling for the sake of battling. And I just don't think that that's productive. There are a whole bunch of people out there who sit around the middle who listen. They do. And, that was really demonstrated for me. There was a video I did a while ago in the summer where I took on a troll who was going on about how much debt Trudeau had put up and why housing was his fault and all this stuff. And I took it down point by point and it went kind of viral for me. And so many people showed up and started to follow me based on that particular video that I didn't even know existed on this algorithm. And they're just quiet and they don't really interact and they just watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just wanted to take something off of what you said, and then we'll go down to Canadian resistance. The sense of justice and the sense of it's not really justice, but just like that sense of making sure that like the right information and battling disinformation is a neurospicy thing, by the way.
Yeah,
it's an autism and ADHD thing.
I
So
know.
if you're neurospicy, you usually have a really, really strong sense of justice. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that we have to stop trying to figure out how they think or what they're doing. And I think we just have to roll up our sleeves and do the thing and have some faith that, the information is getting out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Canadian resistance.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me up. Great live you got going here.
Thanks.
I just wanted to touch on the communication piece that folks are talking about. I think there's the issue that I've found is that a lot of people they're still following politics as normal, right? Like, oh, it's been 9 years of Trudeau, so we need change, and it doesn't matter. Just it'll be a conservative this time, and then a liberal next time, and it's just like la-di-la, and they're not really focusing on these aren't normal times. Like, if you look back in history at what happened the last time the world went through a pandemic, it kind of mimics what is happening now. There was heavy anti-immigrant racial struggles, all of these divisive things that the population went through at that time. And we are it's funny because they say we're repeating history, right? If you don't learn from it, you're bound to repeat it. And that's exactly what we're doing. And then I don't know how much you folks subscribe to the changings of history, but if you look at where we are now, we are basically going through this major shift where if you look at history, everything is supposed to change, right? And this isn't a conspiracy theory, although some people do get sucked into those vibes. But if you look at how our history has gone, we are in a moment where we are going to go through some major change. Everything is going to change. And I guess nobody knows how that's going to happen. I mean, we're all hot on this Russia tip right now because it seems like, Vladimir Putin. I'm not sure if I posted the videos yet, but there is some testimony from experts who say that, Vladimir Putin is responsible for 80% of all of the misinformation and disinformation in Europe. I've currently been living in Italy for the last little while because I'm taking care of my father's estate. So while I'm here in Europe, which I am right now, I get to hear about all the shit that's going on in France and Germany. And it's crazy, right? And I watch the news and I watch the European Parliament, and it's literally mind-boggling because they see what's happening in the States. They're terrified because now they're like, holy shit, Vladimir Putin has the single greatest army on the face of the earth. Basically, people are saying at his disposal, or he has control of it, if you believe that he has that much influence over the incoming president. And then you look at all the dynamics that are associated with that, and it's terrifying, right? And so, but I still don't think folks are really taking that in, either because they don't want to deal with it, because maybe it causes too much anxiety, and they're like, oh my God, there's nothing I can do about it anyway, so I don't want to think about it, and I'm just going to pretend that everything's normal until it's not, or they don't care, because there's a certain segment of our population, like Maple MAGA and MAGA, that really the important thing to them is just own the libs. I just want to own the libs. I just want to be right. I just want to find comfort in my divisive speech and in my dislike for others, and in my, maybe for some people they're very wealthy, so they get that big tax cut, and that's good for them, and that floats their boat. So I think there's all kinds of different communication struggles, and not to mention the propaganda. It's obvious. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I can go into my comments. I can talk to people. I have family members. They're just cooked.
Yeah.
They're lost.
I just want to jump in when he's done.
Yeah, you just can't talk to these people, right? Like there's no getting through to them. You're banging your head against the wall. And so, yeah, I agree. We have to work on the independence. But again, I think most of those folks are just like, oh, we need change. And they're not really thinking about what the grand consequence of that change might be.
Well,
Anyways,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things, I want to say something to tie like a whole bunch of these threads together, because he's right. People don't realize that the game has changed. Like, our whole situation has changed. It's not what it was the last time conservatives were in power. Bringing it back to the whole Romania thing, between Romania's authorities and EU authorities, they have uncovered over 85,000 bot accounts on TikTok supporting that one right-wing person in the country. 85,000. Like, the amount of propaganda that is coming out is astounding. Like, people are not understanding the depth of this problem, and like you can't play the political game the same way we used to. He said something about like Russia has the biggest army, talking about like controlling Trump and the US, but they probably do have like the biggest cyber army when it comes to propaganda and disinformation, and people are not understanding or knowing that nearly enough.
I have some education in marketing at a post-secondary level, and I've worked in marketing through the bank, and people have no idea like, they think that they have free will and they think that they have freedom of thought. You don't. If you own a TV, or you read a newspaper, or you listen to a radio, you are not self-actualized. You are being controlled by the marketing companies of the world, and politics has become who can market themselves the best. That's what it's become. It's not about who's got the best ideas. It's not about who's best for the, because we have become conditioned to fawn over celebrity, and politicians have become celebrity, and we've become manipulated by Madison Avenue and marketing. Marketing is nothing but brainwashing of the masses.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's to convince you. Marketing is convincing you that you need something that you don't need. That's all marketing is.
It's
I
how
have a
19
degree
big
in
economy
marketing and
started.
economics too. And
Yeah.
I got it back in the 90s, and this story that has stuck with me. This was like almost pre-internet, very early days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And marketing companies back then knew when a woman was pregnant before she did.
Yeah.
That is how much information was even tracked back then, just in your changes in buying power and purchasing patterns and everything else, that you're not even aware of your own behavior yet, or your own, like, what's happening to your body. And a freaking marketing company is, and it is 1,000 times worse now with how much we're tracked and how much data we have on us, right?
People seem to think that the natural resources of the world are the most sought after commodity. It's not. We are. Our information is the most sought after commodity in the world. And they study it, and they study it, and they study it, and they hire psychologists and psychiatrists like Jordan Peterson, and they learn how to manipulate people into believing things they want them to believe. And I know that sounds really conspiracy theory, tinfoil hattish, but it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. I have done enough sales training and trained enough sales teams and written sales manuals to tell you that the whole point of marketing is to sell you something you don't need and to make you believe that you need it badly.
Yeah, I just want to echo that too. I'm also the marketing sales background over here as well. And actually, that's kind of why I left my industry, and I left sales, because I was so disgusted with it, and I was so disgusted with what I had to do in order to make money through sales. It's all just a game. Like, it literally all is a game, and we can just look at Hollywood, right? Hollywood has been selling the idea to women that they need to look a certain way, and now look at the, beauty products industry, which literally, if we all stopped buying it, would cripple the entire world's economy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all marketing, and China was really good at gathering information from us through social media, and then feeding that information to Russia, and then having Russia use it to be able to easily manipulate people's emotions and have them believe the crazy conspiracies that are now just like everyday facts for certain people on the right. And it's it's quite crazy. We live in very, very uncertain times right now.
But one thing I want to point out to everybody who's kind of losing hope is that I've noticed, and since September, I've made 2 videos. I made a video at the end of September talking about how I thought Pierre was on the downward spiral, and his goose was cooked. Like, this was it. He was done. And then I stitched it a month later, and things had not improved, and they were actually going downhill for him. And then last week, I was in a CTV thread on a video in the comment section, and it was overwhelmingly against Pierre, which is not what it used to be. So things are shifting, and things are changing. Like, it is not this constant onslaught of Pierre for PM and Pierre's the best and Pierre's got my vote. More people are coming out of the woodwork talking about how he is a phony and he's not for Canadians and he's in Trump's pocket, and even Andrew Coyne. I made a video yesterday talking about Andrew Coyne's opinion piece, and Andrew Coyne is like his buddy, right? Like, Andrew Coyne wrote Pierre's biography, and he's been very pro Pierre, and he said some very unflattering things in his opinion piece about Pierre, which I was shocked, actually, that he would actually take that stand. But I don't think that all is lost, is what I'm trying to say. And maybe that's because I'm an overly optimistic person, but it doesn't mean that we put down the fight though. But I don't think it's as hopeless as people want you to believe that it is.
No, we have to keep hope no matter what. You can't give up.
Absolutely.
So we're starting a new thing for the end of the show. The last 10 minutes we're gonna do like concluding. What did I say? Concluding
comments.
It wasn't thoughts. I sent it to you, Zojin. I can't remember what I said.
Concluding
comments. Your concluding comments. So I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes each. I'm going to put it on Showtime, so everybody else is muted while the one person is speaking. And it'll be 2 minutes each just to say your final thoughts on like what the topic was today. And then it'll move automatically to the next person. It'll start at the bottom, Canadian Resistance first, and it'll come all the way back up to me afterwards. Okay? So I will pop that on and we can start doing that. It'll do a countdown.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so my final concluding comments would be I think one thing everybody needs to be cognizant of is that we also need to be aware of the 10 years of spin that have been fed down our throats by the conservative media in this country. I feel like we're surrounded, between the propaganda, the conservative media, and the absence of any kind of aggression on behalf of the Liberal government. Like, I just feel like nobody's taking things seriously enough. And I hope that Canadians can wake up maybe after a few 3-4 months of the next president in the US, and people will start to see what he's doing. Maybe that'll be a wake-up call. And I wouldn't be so convinced that PP is the worst possible scenario. There have been rumors about Doug Ford kicking in if PP gets dropped, or even Christy Clark, who, as we know, I live in BC. She was a Liberal, but people outside of BC don't understand that BC Liberals are actually conservatives. And so there's a lot of talk, and I think it's never ever a conservative. But it looks like it's a tough road to hoe. People are really down on JT for no good reason. The propaganda is thick, and I'm going to do my best to make sure I get all the best possible information out there, and I know you guys will too. And so keep up the fight, keep resisting, and join the resistance. Send me an email if you want to be a part of the fight.
Is it me?
It's your turn, yeah.
Sorry, I just will echo the previous commenter. We're in a very, very serious time. It is something unlike what we've seen here before, at least in my lifetime, and I'm old. We need to keep going with this battle, not give up, not lose hope, but it is very, very dire. It is very serious, especially for the next generation. So I'm in for the fight and the information sharing, and I'm not going to stop. So kudos to everyone else here as well. Thank you.
I think what I'm going to add is a message that I got from my father today, if that's okay with everybody. Might as well end with the opinion of a 66-year-old man who immigrated from Romania and with me when I was 10 years old. So what he said to me today when looking at everything, he said, things may change in a different direction sooner than we think. In times of instability, the societies could move in unexpected directions. Some will realize it's bad and run. Others will choose to fight. Others will enter survival mode. Before World War I, humanity was in a similar situation. After 2 world wars, things settled, for some in a good way, for some in a bad way. By the time you were born, things moved as well, less violently, but still chaotic. You don't remember those years. You probably don't remember very well those times, but you may remember the tension. We had another 15 years of peace here. We assumed the best, but now we got the worst. Humans are reactive beings, not predictive. We failed to extrapolate the future from our past, We live in the present and fear for the future. This is the reason we cannot anticipate what other people will do despite having the history to provide some answers. Kind of neutral, but just to say that, we can't predict what's going to happen. So those of us that are choosing to be in the fight, let's stay in the fight and just keep moving forward.
Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking before was that every time there is a gain of human rights in the world is chaotic. And right now there's a push for transgender rights and the BIPOC community's rights, a furthering of those human rights. And that is the issue here. And so we're going to be going through all of this crap, but on the other side, it will be an expansion of human rights for people. And that's what keeps me engaged. And that's what I remember. And everybody who hasn't, I would really invite you to go back and read about the Gilded Age, the Great Depression, the Smoot-Hawley Act, and go back in history and read about the suffragette movement and the civil rights movement, because those historical moments are all, we're recreating them right now. We are absolutely recreating them right now. Even with AI technology is a huge advancement. That is also part of the problem. And if you you can compare what's happening now to historical times where things came about very similarly, right? Like the factors, all the factors are there, and we are. And sorry, I'm tongue tied because I'm on a thing here. I'm having a hard time keeping my thoughts straight. But what I'm trying to say is that we've been here before as a species. We've been here before, and the best thing we can do is read the history so we know what to expect and how to strategize to combat that.
Okay. Yeah, so can you all hear me? Because my mic goes in and out when I'm outside. Okay, great. Yeah, I will fight for everyone. I don't care who you are. I don't care what demographic you come from. I don't care your orientation, your religion, or whatever. I will fight for everyone. That being said, I will fight. I have no breath in my body to fight with. That being said, I also agree with Miss Lotus. It's about the 2SL LGBTQIA rights. It's about the BIPOC rights. It's about disabled rights. It's about every Canadian in here, whether you're born here or you immigrated here, you're still a Canadian once you take that test. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I will fight for every one of you. I just need you guys to all stand with me when we fight, because I can't do this alone and neither can any of us. We need to fight together, not each other. I try to tell people this so many times. There's a reason why we're fighting, and we fight for what we believe in. And we believe that Canada should be a free country. Absolutely. um, we should still be able to have our rights and have our healthcare the way it was since we've all been here. People can sit there and blame Trudeau all they want, but it's not all Trudeau. Trudeau's not the only government out there. It's the UCP, it's Bloc Québécois, it's the Green Party, it's the Conservatives, it's NDP. It's all government should be held accountable. If we're going to blame one, we got to blame them all. That's how I see it. Because again, Trudeau is the prime minister. He's in charge of the country, but he doesn't run every party. He runs what he runs and he does what he can. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to blame Trudeau for everything that happens. I'm going to blame every party for what happens, because it's not just one, it's all. I'm done.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of echoing what people said and about a video I did a little while ago, and that's that things look really bad right now. You see like a rise of all this right-wing populism and misogyny and racism and class warfare and all this misinformation, and it's easy to get discouraged or to get scared, especially if people are sending you death threats on TikTok. Um, and to echo what Miss Lotus Lady said, like this is all in a response to progress, to good things happening, and people with power are getting terrified of it and getting scared and doing everything they can to hold on to this shitty system. That is why all of this is happening. So try your best not to get discouraged. Like, it can look bad, but remember, it's only happening because there's positive things under the surface that were happening. Someone said, like, I think it was Frontline Feminist, her dad, like, there, that we're reactive. All of this rise of the right wing and misinformation is reacting to something positive. Now it is our turn to react to their shit. So keep up the good work, keep fighting, try to be positive. I'm going to do a shameless plug. Go check out my YouTube channel and my interview with Jugmeat and my video on that rise of the right and how to combat it. One of the things it says in there is we have to keep talking to each other and not talking down to each other. One of the things leftists fail at is we come across as elitist, intellectual dicks, and we have to talk to people as equals. So if you can do that without threatening your own safety, reach out to people as much as you are able and converse with them and just try to share good ideas. That's it. Peace. Thanks for having me on.
All right. I am going to wrap up with, I think we really, I'm just going to echo the thought that I had earlier of just making sure that we're speaking to the right people, because we're not going to be able to move the people on the right. They're immovable. They're set in their ways. We have to find a way to reach the people that need to be, that are still malleable, right? We can still get information into them. They're not closed off or anything like that. I don't know. My thoughts are kind of like all over the place right now, but I guess the last couple of plugs would be thank you for getting us to almost 50K likes. That's fantastic. Thank you for all the gifts that we got today as part of the thing. Thank you, Zojin, for being my co-host today. I appreciate it. I'm not usually the one who like runs the whole thing. I'm usually doing all the tech stuff, so which I was kind of still doing anyway today. Make sure that you go and follow us on YouTube as well. We post every single one of these lives on YouTube every day. The more followers get, the better. Eventually, I'm still learning. I have to figure out how to do my live stream one that I have, but we're going to be streaming on YouTube at 1.2. So will be on both platforms. I don't know if I had anything else to say. I'm going to say the same thing. Keep up the good fight. Keep up, the fighting, not fighting, but we need to fight for our rights, because a lot of people, marginalized people especially, are losing all of their rights. And it's not just, I made a video about this before. You think it's not happening here. It's happening here. My province just passed the most heinous anti-trans legislation this week. So we need to look out for each other and not just ourselves. That's all I have. All right. Oh. All right. So thank you for everybody for coming to our live today. I thought it was really good. We didn't really talk a whole heck of a lot about the tariffs and annexation, but maybe we can hit that next time. We're trying to pick topics that are relevant that week, because we don't want to miss the topic kind of thing, right? So, and I'm going to try and create new backgrounds every single week for whatever topic we're actually talking about. But yeah, for everybody who didn't get a chance, I saw there were a couple people in the requests. We don't let up. It's not a debate space, just so you know. We don't let up any people who are wanting to debate. It's just a conversation space, more of a think tank kind of area, and just talking about the issues that we're having, so we can maybe try and reach those people that we want to reach and we need to reach. So again, thanks, Zojin, for helping me today. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, Nerdy.
Yeah, no worries. I'm the hostess with the mostest, so.
You do great.
And my shameless plug, if you like trivia, Mistress Trash Panda, that account, which is
yeah.
totally not me at all. She hosts trivia at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, so in 26 minutes.
Okay.
So go to Mistress Trash Panda, and it's going to be some Christmas trivia tonight. So if you want to stop by there, it'll be like 2 hours. So, all right, that's my shameless plug.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming by, and have a fun
Thanks, guys.
Nice to see everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.